Hey fans, well, this is certainly a very unique time to be a sports fan in the Tampa Bay area. And really, it's the unique time to be a team broadcaster as well. It's a very, very special time with the Bucs, the Rays, and the Lightning. And here to offer their unique perspectives on all of that are some familiar faces and names and voices to go around the horn. We'll begin with the Casey Phillips, who's the team reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl champions. We got Dave Wills, who is the radio play-by-play voice of the Tampa Rays. And we also have Doug Wechter, former player and now a member of Rays Live on Fox Sports Sun as a studio analyst. And, of course, my partner on Fox Sports Sun for Lightning games, Mr. Brian Angblom. So let's go around the horn a little bit. Maybe, Casey, we'll start with you, seeing as that was the most recent championship. This is a hard one, guys, because there's so many moments. But what was your favorite moment of the playoff run?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there are so many things, but I think for me, it was watching guys like Levante David and Mike Evans celebrate even just making the playoffs for the first time, that these guys who had been a part of this team for so many years, blood, sweat, and tears, and to get to see them have that moment was incredible. And then going all the way again to the celebrating in the confetti with their families. There was something about that moment when the confetti dropped that it was real. You know, it was a little weird at being in your home stadium to sometimes have to pinch ourselves and be like, no, this is the Super Bowl. And there was something about that confetti coming down that was like, this really happened. And these guys, you know, watching them with their families, knowing how much effort they had put in, how much they had sacrificed for years on end, and especially this year, I think that was the moment that you remember what it really means to those guys and what all they've put into it.
Doug, how about you?
Yeah, I think, if I had to pick one moment out for the Rays in this postseason run, it had to be the Brett Phillips walk-off. I think that was probably one of the most iconic sports moments in Tampa Bay history, not just for the Rays, but, going in there, they were down 2-1 in that series against the Dodgers. And if they would have lost that game, it would have been, 3-1. It would have looked really, really bad for the Rays moving forward. And, Brett Phillips down to 2 strikes, 2 outs. And I mean, this guy, Dave will tell you, he's not known for his offense necessarily, but was able to come clutch and have one of the biggest moments again in, Rays franchise history for sure. But in really Tampa Bay area sports history, I mean, it was iconic. I was able to witness it. I was out in center field. I was actually holding my cell phone, watching this thing, just in case it was going to happen. And it starts unveiling. I'm filming on my cell phone, and all of a sudden my hands are shaking when I'm looking, and I'm watching it back, and I can't hold the camera straight because I was so excited. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. So for sure, that was my most iconic moment for the Rays.
His post-game interview gave me chills as well. Yeah. Just the emotion, the raw emotion, and the joy that he got from that moment. Dave, what about you?
Well, I mean, Doug obviously talked about one of the bigger moments in the postseason, and I think if that was number one, then 1A might have been Mike Brasso's home run against the Yankees in Game 5 of the American League Division Series. I think there's a couple of moments in that particular situation there. One being that we are Tampa is the home to the Yankees spring training site, and we see a lot of people, unfortunately, walking around with Yankee hats on throughout Tampa Bay a lot during the offseason. And I thought to myself, if we lose to these guys in this first round, I'm going to see all these Yankee hats all winter long, and it's just going to drive me nuts. But for Brasso on a 10-pitch at bat, that just seemed to be getting a little bit more timing of Aroldis Chapman, and then the backstory of Chapman buzzing the tower in early September and everything that went with that, the suspensions and the Kevin Cash telling everybody we got a stable full of 90 guys who throw 98, all the energy that was kind of absorbed into that one particular moment. And then for Mike Brasso, again, a guy that's not a real big headline guy to go up there and on the 10th pitch, take an Aroldis Chapman pitch over the wall for the difference in the game. Again, another kind of goosebump moment. And, for the Rays and to win that ball game, to move on to the American League Championship Series, the Mike Brasso home run. If Brett Phillips is one, and I know everybody talks about it because it was indeed the World Series, then Mike Brasso is 1A as far as our moments in the postseason of 2020.
What about the Lightning, Brian? What was the favorite moment for you in that run?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Steven Stamkos' goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, absolutely brilliant. Kirk Gibson-esque. A scene from The Natural. I thought maybe the lights were going to start exploding all over the place. Amazing stuff. Stammer has that thing, that it thing about him. And that's just marvelous to watch. He'd missed the whole playoffs because of injury. He'd had surgery. We never thought he was ever going to appear. And then all of a sudden, he's playing. And he only played a couple of shifts, a couple of minutes in the game. And he gets out there, comes down the wing and scores from an almost impossible angle. It wasn't the one-timer from the face-off circle on the left side. It was a wrist shot on his strong side, the perfect shot. It was so Steven Stamkos-esque. I loved it. And the shot of the bench and Cooper and the players, all the coaches looking at each other and jumping up and down and going, are you kidding me? This is amazing. And that gave him just a huge adrenaline burst. And I think it must have given the players that feeling of, this is it. This is our time. This thing is really going to happen.
You know, when you stack up all those moments all together like that, it really is an impressive collection of sports memories for fans in this area. So we as a group here provide the descriptions and the analysis for all these special times for the sports teams. And I want to go around the horn one more time here to what is unique about broadcasting each of our individual sports. Casey, we'll start with you again.
I think that for me, it's especially when I'm thinking about all of you on this call and what it's like for your sports, how few games we have compared to all of you guys. And so how those moments and those plays and those decisions get broken down for an entire week and get picked apart. And you look at all those little details, and anything bad that happens lingers for a whole week, and guys are dwelling on that. And of course, they say they got the 24-hour rule and move on to the next game. But the fact that for a whole week, you were thinking about the highs and lows of that one game. But then on the flip side, we have so many players and therefore so many individual stories to tell. So while there might be a lot less game action to cover, there's a lot more in terms of maybe the human interest side, the off the field side, that you have 53, or if you include the practice squad, sometimes even 63 guys to be telling their stories. There's lots of roster turnover every year. So to me, looking around, comparing the way I cover a team to the rest of you guys, you know, you're going to break down that game until you are blue in the face because you got 7 days till there's another one. But man, so many different guys with diverse backgrounds to be able to talk about.
Dave?
You know, I mean, it's one of those things where I heard the 24-hour rule. We have about a 30-minute rule. That's what Joe Madden taught us way back when. He said, celebrate hard for 30 minutes, lose hard for 30 minutes, and then you got to kind of move on. And, you know, I think, and Dave, just talking to you before we went on the air here, one of the things that Andy and I try to do on our broadcast is just to be good company. You know, radio is a little different than the other mediums. Radio, I think, especially baseball on the radio, you can have us on and you don't have to have your ear up to the speaker to find out what's going on every moment of that particular game. It's 3 hours long. You could probably get worn out a little bit, but you can have it on in the background while you're gardening. You can have it on in the background while you might be swimming in the pool. You could have it on while you're driving around town, you know, running some errands on a Sunday afternoon, like you said you were doing. And, you know, there's a great sign in Minneapolis at their ballpark from Herb Carneal, their longtime Hall of Fame broadcaster back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it said, he was with you when you changed the oil. He was with you when you mowed the lawn. He was with you when you raked the leaves. He was with you when you changed out the storm windows. So that's what Andy and I just try to do. We try to be good company. We try to paint the picture for people to make them feel like maybe that, you know, they're not, if they're not at the park, that they are at the park. They feel like they might be having a cold Bud Light or enjoying a Coca-Cola as they're getting ready for the game. And we just want, and maybe sit next to us at a bar. We've had it compared to maybe even people saying they feel like they're listening to an episode of MASH where there's surgery going on, but we're joking about a bunch of different stuff. And while we take the game seriously, we don't take ourselves too seriously. But, you know, baseball's 3-hour theater every single day. And it's one of those things where we just hope to be good company when it's all said and done.
And for Brian and Doug, the last two guys that are going to chime in here, you guys are both players, unlike the rest of us. So there's an added layer of you know, different perspectives. So what's unique to you? We'll start with you, Doug.
Yeah, I will say, first of all, I have sat at a bar with Dave for 30 minutes and listened to him on the radio, and he is identical, both sides. So you're not missing anything. Either way, you're going to want to listen into him. You know, I think for the Rays, you know, I'm glad Casey mentioned that they have one game a week and they have to dissect that one game over the 7 days, which is very unique to the sports and for the Bucs and, you know, the NFL in particular. You know, the Rays, on the other hand, they have a game every single day, it seems like, for 7+ months. And because of that, I think it makes it unique to broadcast baseball in the fact that you really have to not only be knowledgeable of your own players on the roster, but specifically with the Rays, you got to be knowledgeable about, the guys in AAA, the guys who are probably going to be coming up and helping this team at some point in time. It seems like the roster's changing. If not every day, it's changing, every series. And because of that, you really have to have a wide knowledge of, other teams and our minor league system and everything just enveloped into one. Because if you don't, then, you're going to be scrambling the day of the broadcast when they make a last minute move, a last minute change. And this guy's pitching instead of, Tyler Glass now. And you got to be aware of him and you got to know what he brings to the table. So it is very unique in baseball that they do play just about every day. And I have 3 arm surgeries to prove that. So, it's one of those things that it's a blast doing it, but you got to stay on top of it or the game will get away from you pretty quick.
And I guess from the uniqueness standpoint, our sport, what makes it so much different than what you guys are doing is we can go 6 or 7 straight minutes without a whistle. So our play-by-play guys, they want to lie down for a minute, I think, Dave, after that, right? You finally go to commercial and you're out of breath, and this might be the first period. So you go 6 or 7 straight minutes, and I'm kind of interjecting a little bit here and there. Otherwise, people forgot that I was there, and I don't want that to happen. But it's very unique. It's very interesting, and obviously different from what you guys do. The interesting thing also is that over the years, I've certainly noticed how many more new players, young faces come into the league. That the league is so young. So, who are these guys? And they're coming from the Russian league. They're coming from the European league. They're coming from college. They're coming from 3 different major junior leagues all across Canada. So, the backgrounds are so diverse. It's incredible. So doing the background work and just doing a little reading on them, asking, media guys on the other team and around the league, and just sort of listening with your ear to the ground to try and figure out who the hell these people are and, try to get a thumbnail sketch on them, and then watching them develop in front of your eyes. Also, because in a normal season, not like this year, you're only seeing teams in the Western Conference twice, once at home and once on the road. It does take a while for you to get to know some of these guys sort of personally from watching them very much. Yeah, sure, you can watch them on television, but it's not the same as watching them in person. So that's an ongoing process for me.
One last question, and this is a fun one, I think. I want you guys to tell me from the Bucks and Rays perspective, which player you think would make the best hockey player or the best member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And for you, Brian, you'll back cleanup here. Which member of the Lightning do you think would either be a good Buccaneer football player or a Tampa Bay Ray in the major leagues? So Casey, you're up. You're batting lead off.
Okay, so I have 2 different things with this. I have who I actually think would be the best, and then what I just want to see, because those are not the same thing. So who I think is the best potentially would be Levante David as a defenseman, that his sideline to sideline ability, his footwork ability, he is incredible at creating fumbles, which I feel like could, translate to getting the puck out all the times. He could lay out a huge hit on guys. I just feel like athletic ability, the mental side, the fact that he is kind of the quarterback of that defense, that he'd be able to be directing everybody back there. So I think that he would be pretty incredible. Now, what I want to see is Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh being essentially the Bash brothers from Mighty Ducks, just trucking people right and left, all, combined 700 pounds of them on ice skates. I would pay any amount of money to watch that. And even Vita Vea's hair flying out of that helmet back there while he's skating. All of this to me would just be a ticket that we would sell out immediately. Just the 2 of them versus an entire hockey team.
Yeah, I just want to see them on ice skates. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
No kidding. Go ahead, Dave. You go ahead next.
I was thinking about this. I covered a lot of hockey back in the day, back in the mid 80s to the 90s. And, trying to look at, the body type of some of our guys who would kind of blend in and be able to put on the uniform. I've seen some of our guys put the skates on, and it's not pretty. But I think that Kevin Kiermaier would probably be a real good fourth line energy guy to go out there and kind of just again, maybe muck it up in the corners a little bit, take 30, 40 seconds off the clock to let the top guys kind of catch their rest and just kind of maybe set the tone with a couple of big hits and maybe some exciting plays. And then, Mike Zunino, I think, would be a really, really good goalie. I don't think there's a team in baseball that throws as many pitches in the dirt as we do. So I see some glove saves and a beauty by Zunino several times a night, a couple of kick saves to keep the puck or the ball, if you will, around home plate with a man at third base. So I think between those two guys, Kiermaier to kind of be an energy guy in a fourth line, and then Zunino to try and keep, as he does, try to keep the ball off the backstop, would probably be a good goalie to keep the puck out of the net.
Good stuff. And you, Doug?
Yeah, those are two good guys right there. With baseball, I will admit that, the general idea on baseball players is not every one of them is the best athlete, you can say, especially us former pitchers. So I'm going to exclude all the pitchers that I see from the Rays and just go ahead and say they probably can't throw on skates and check anybody into the boards. But I think Joey Wendell would be a good fit. Joey Wendell, man, this guy is kind of the lunch pail, bring your lunch pail to work, roll up your sleeves, get the job done. Very athletic guy, plays, just about every position on the field, brings like 3 or 4 gloves to every single game. It's like he's going back to Little League. You got all these gloves in his bag. You got to figure out which position he's playing so he can throw that on and run out to the field. Very athletic. So I think, he could translate a little bit into skates. And very tough. I mean, you think of hockey players, my first thought is that these guys, they're the toughest dudes on earth. They don't complain. They don't go down with injuries. And if they do, something's hurting. Joey Wendell's that type of mentality. I mean, he goes out there, I'll tell you, he will play through anything. And he just wants to strap it up and be out there with his teammates. So Joey Wendell,
he doesn't like to wear gloves though, Doug. So we'd have to maybe work on that. Make sure he puts his gloves on
without gloves on.
You need that. You need the gloves. And last but not least, I'm looking forward to hearing this one. Brian, take it away.
It would be defenseman Eric Chernak being a middle linebacker in football. Absolutely. His nickname is Drago from the Rocky movies. He's got that Slovakian accent, which is awesome. He even looks like Drago. He's got that "I will break you," tone in his voice. And he's got that 1,000-yard stare. I could see him as a middle linebacker, just staring across at the quarterback like, I am going to rip your head off. That's the way he plays. I love that guy. He's so fun to talk to, but he's definitely got that middle linebacker mentality. As far as baseball goes, I would like to see Andrei Vasilevsky playing baseball. Russians don't play baseball. They don't have baseball. They don't really understand baseball. They don't know much about baseball. And on top of that, the interesting thing about Vasi is he's left-handed. So he would throw the ball left-handed, right? But he plays hockey and he actually catches left-handed because his dad was a goalie and they didn't have enough equipment. He should be catching with his right hand, and to be natural. But there wasn't good enough equipment available. So he had to learn the other way around. So baseball would be pretty interesting. If he played it like a goaltender, he'd have to catch the ball left-handed, drop the glove, and then throw the ball with the left hand. So I definitely would like to see that.
That's pretty good. Those are two good ones. I should point out, too, that the captain of the Lightning, Steven Stamkos, was an excellent baseball player. Won a provincial championship. I think he still plays occasionally in a summer slow pitch league with his dad back home if he ever gets the chance to do that. So that could be a good one as well. Guys, this was a lot of fun, and I hope the fans enjoyed it as well. Thank you very, very much for your time. Good luck to Doug and Dave in the Rays season, and Casey, enjoy some time off, and let's all do this again. Go Team
Look
Tampa
forward to
Bay.
it.